Welcome to the Wide Awake News Radio program. In Charlie McGrath's absence, this is the Vulcan, aka Dex, standing in for him. And hopefully we'll be joined by none other than Demcad as soon as he can make his way here. Today is April the 3rd, Wednesday, 2013. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. First and foremost, breaking news in the middle of the day, no less. We have issues escalating with North Korea. The USA is now taking serious the threats of the young want-to-be militant, Mr. Kim Jong-un, and now we have elevated things to another level. The thermonuclear war rhetoric is strengthening, and we are going to DEFCON 1. Not only that, but we're sending over now missiles to Asia so that we can defend our interest. Not only that, but today the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell on the New York Stock Exchange decided that this was also a reality, and the markets took a nosedive today. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you know for a fact that we have been going up every day, every week for the past several weeks. Make that since the beginning of the year. So let's just say the first quarter of 2013 being in the books now is an up quarter. We have hit all-time highs in the Dow, the S&P, and the Russell. The only one that has not been participating is the NASDAQ, the tech sector. Not playing ball. It's decided to take its frisbee ball and leave the sandbox and go home. Not only that, but one thing that has to be noted here is that every day that we hit a new high on the Dow, the civilian populace becomes poor. The higher the Dow goes, the poorer we all become. And how is that? Well, you know that Ben Bernanke and the Federal Reserve have decided that they're going to print us into oblivion. They're not stopping. They're going to continue quantitative easing into infinity. Question you should ask yourself is, if the Federal Reserve is able to print all this money, why isn't some of this money making its way into your and I pockets? What's up with that? Well, not only is that to add insult to injury, but we have a situation where the poor man can no longer trust in his gold and silver, because today gold and silver took a bath on the COMEX. That's right, took a bath. Took out all major weekly supports, and now we're flirting with an all-time 52-week low in silver. Everyone, let's clap and celebrate. Don't worry, though. Don't get shook out of your positions. For you gold and silver bugs out there, the best thing you can do right now is keep stacking. The old rhetoric on Wall Street is, if you like the stock at 50, you'll love it now that it's $4. Same thing can be said of gold and silver. Everyone was excited when gold was flirting with $2,000 an ounce. Now, as I speak to you all, we're at $15.54 an ounce, and silver is at the 26 handle. Once again, the 26 handle. We have not been here since December of 2011. If we take out that December 2011 low in silver, it will open up the door for what I was telling you all before of seeing that $15 shortly thereafter. And we could even hit I want to call the long-term decade base of $5. Don't say it can't happen, because it can. I remember when in the Black Ops trading room, I called the top in silver and I warned everyone the day of it to get out of their long positions. Those who listened, we had a great time. Those who did not are still licking their wounds, because they kept stacking even when silver hit $50, and now here we are sitting at 26. So, it's just one of those things where because it's tangible, because it is a real asset, it is real money. It doesn't matter what price you really buy it at, unless you need to convert that to cash. Then yeah, you're gonna take it on the chin, and you're gonna hurt for a little bit. Okay, so I just want to put that out there. For you silver and gold bugs out there, keep stacking. There's nothing wrong with the pullback here. If we do go back further and we break the 26 support and drop down to like $15, hey, you can really back up the truck and buy as much as you can afford to do. The only problem is we have another caveat with this, because the lower the silver price goes on the COMEX, the more difficult it gets to be able to buy the physical. So it's a catch-22. Yeah, the silver will be cheaper, but good luck trying to find it. And then if you do manage to find it, then you're going to have way higher markups on that. Even the best dealers are going to have to eat, so they're going to charge you a lot more for it. So, for example, if we do see right now we're at 26.89, if we drop down to 20, let's say, you still may be paying $30 for that silver if you can even locate it. So, just want to put that, in your ear so you can think about it, so you can be prepared going forward. So now, logically, you would ask, what does this mean for the U.S. dollar per se? All right, I have good news and bad news. The U.S. dollar was pretty quiet today. It did pull back from the 83 handle down to 82.84, so we're setting it right now. But the situation is this. The petrodollar is still the world reserve currency. So theoretically, people are going to flock to the US dollar when the other competing currencies are taking a bath. And it should be noted here. It should be noted. I want to warn you going forward. All right, FYI. Although the stock market's been strong this year, although crude oil has not dropped below $90 a barrel in quite some time, you need to know something here. The euro currency and the British pound are in massive trouble right now. The euro is in a bear market. Prices keep falling. We dropped from almost 140 down to right now as we speak. We're sitting here at 128.57. It is still in a bear market. It is having a consolidation bounce off of its weekly lows that it hit, but it's still extremely weak. Do not be surprised that with all the stuff that's going on in the global economy, that when you go to the store this spring and summer to buy your groceries, you're going to be paying a lot more for it. But it'll be balanced out because the crude oil is dropping on the exchange. It fell $2 today. Okay. So it'll cost you less to put gas in your car, but then you'll be paying more for your tomatoes and for your soybeans, wheat, and corn, if that makes any sense to you. All right, now taking another look here, looking at more commodity spaces. On a historical basis, feeder cattle and live cattle and lean hogs are still very, very expensive. Okay? Expensive. So that's not going to stop anytime soon. There are many reasons for that, but just suffice it to say that the grain markets, even though they've pulled back here in the last couple of weeks in price, they're still historically high. To give you an idea, at the turn of the millennium, we had average prices of about $4 a bushel for soybeans, and today we're setting it just shy of $14. Welcome back on this other side of the break here. All right, for those of you who are just tuning in, Charlie is absent today, had some things to take care of, so it's me, the Vulcan, aka Dex, at pulsescan.blogspot.com or pulsescan72 on YouTube, Commander-in-Chief of the Black Ops Trading Room. And it's been a very interesting day, interesting week, interesting month and year so far, with so much going on in the news and I'm going to take my time and get right to it. Okay, so the first thing here that I want to continue is with just what happened on Wall Street today and how it affects you and your pocketbook. The precious metal complex is under severe operation right now. When I say operation, I'm referring to the fact that there is a lot of short interest out there that could cause the gold and the silver to hit very, very low numbers in the next couple of days. If all things being equal, if what I saw today happens again tomorrow, we might see another $100 day in gold. Does anyone remember? I think it was like 2 years ago when gold fell $100 in one day. $100 in one day. Well, we could see that again. We could see another flash crash in the precious metals. Silver is in jeopardy of dropping below $26. And like I was saying earlier before the break, the dollar is still maintaining its bullishness right now. The dollar could continue to push from where it is now beyond 83 and 84. It's been trading in a range between like 83 and 77, I would say is the low. Really haven't done much, but as this is going on, looking at the European woes and now this Korea situation, we've kind of taken our eyes off of what's going on with the global economy. People are getting worried, and I'll tell you why. The thing that's happening in Cypress, even though Cypress is such a small little blip on the atlas, the situation is gigantic. It's enormous because it's setting precedent. So people are now getting, suspicious, I should say, that something like that can or won't happen here. Well, the word on the street is that it's already in the process of happening in Europe. I have firsthand knowledge that today in the Netherlands there was a problem with the ATM machine. Someone in my Black Ops trading room who lives there said that they tried to go and take money out, and they were saying it's a glitch in the system, and there was a problem. They couldn't take money out, couldn't do anything, and so that's a big deal. Is contagion spreading in the banking industry? I know that the Bank of America shares today got slammed on the exchange. Remember, Wall Street is smart money, but it's also dumb money. What I mean by that is anything that's happening of any significance anywhere on the global economy is going to be reflected in those share prices. So people are going to start moving and shaking based on what they know, reliable information, inside information that they know, and that's what they do. Well, when you start seeing insider CEOs selling off their shares, there's a reason for that. When you start seeing a down day in a bull market on Wall Street, it's because not just profit taking, but because someone knows something and they're starting to take their money and run and head for the exit, Katie bar the door. So today could be a sign of things to come. And the reason why I say that is because the Russell was the weakest index today on the exchanges. That index has already broken below its support. And it's a leader, just like the Dow Transports is a leader, leading index, leading indicator. So as they go, the rest of the market will soon follow. And we know this because a few weeks ago, when the stock market took that pause, we had that little correction, the Russell was hitting new highs and the other indexes were not. So these are indicators and things that we look at to get an idea of what's going to happen. So I want to let you know that everything that you've been hearing is real. A pullback in the stock market is not the issue. It's a crash of the stock market that is the issue. People are not concerned that the market's going to pull back and correct and fill the gap that it made over the New Year's. That's not the fear. The fear is a crash. If the Dow crashes, it's a domino effect for everything else in your life. That's never been the case before. People still went to work and still put their pants on the same every day. When the Dow would fall. It really didn't mean as much unless you were invested in stocks. Nowadays, because of the global economy and because we're connected now, it means a lot more. For instance, if you remember back in 2008, when we had that whole beginning of the financial crisis, which technically it actually started in 2007, it was just made public in 2008. What happened was we were told that if they didn't pass the TARP and all that stuff, that they were going to declare martial law. One of the first things on Obama's agenda that he had to deal with, the decision if he was going to call a bank holiday. Remember all that stuff? Well, we know that's real. That's not conspiracy theory. It's fact. All right. You can go anywhere and listen to the people tell you that. Senators will tell you that's what they were told. So we're still at that precipice right now. So I'm telling you that if this does kick off, and it doesn't take a lot, it can be another banking situation, and we'll cover that on the other side of the break. I hear the music playing, so hang in there with us, doing the best I can.
Oh, you're not alone.
All right, we're back now, and we finally have Demcad on with us as well. So we're really going to get some things jumping off here momentarily. I want to finish today's market wrap up with information that I have come across my desk, which is proof that what we may be about to experience is a crash. For those of you who don't know what a market crash is, it is a drop in the Dow of 20%. Once we drop 20%, it doesn't have to happen in a day, just a drop of 20% decline. That's a bear market. That's a crash. All right. So here's what came across my desk today that lets me think that the government is preparing for a myriad of things, not just a financial crisis or collapse, but that this whole war rhetoric has some teeth to it as well. Breaking news: New York Stock Exchange withdraws market protections over its own objections. The New York Stock Exchange and sister market, the NYSE, filed plans with the SEC to shut down their liquidity replenishment point program, a set of price bands that are designed to curb the kind of volatility most visibly seen in the May 6, 2010 flash crash. The exchanges in their filings said that the shuttering of the plans was not their choice. They say they were required to as a part of a separate SEC plan to protect markets from volatility. What you guys need to know is that what they're saying is they've turned off the circuit breakers. So when the event happens, it's going to happen for real, and there's going to be nothing to stop it. Not even Ben Bernanke himself. Yes, that is an article that came across my desk today. So, I smell a rat. I think something is definitely in the works. I think they are letting us know that the situation is grave and there's no fixing it. So, like I said before, welcome the grandfather of all market rallies, which we've been experiencing. But on the other side of this is the greatest crash in human history. Because not only does the market fall, but our economy falls and our nation falls. I repeat, when this market falls, our economy will fall and our nation will fall with it. That is why they've been buying up all the ammunition they can find. That's why they've been mobilizing all these tanks and things and moving them across the desert, especially at night. And here in Orange, I can tell you it is unbelievable. Trains going at night. They used to come through the daytime. Now they only run them specifically at night. They don't want you to see what's going on. We got the military helicopters flying over, the ones that they fly the president in. They fly low and fly over. Just so much going on out here. It is unbelievable. Let me tell you, the nation's capital, even though you don't see it in the paper, is on high alert. okay, for something. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely something going on. This article that comes across my desk today does not bode well for that. The situation in Cypress, notice how attention was diverted from that and put on the nuclear situation now with North Korea. All right. They want to take your eyes off of that so that you don't have time to think and to maneuver and to prepare so you can get your money out of the banks. I have been saying that for the longest time, that you only need to keep in the bank what you need to pay your bills, but that the majority of your money should not be held in a bank because they can do to you whatever they want. And they have the backing of the Federal Reserve and they have the backing of the military. They will shoot you dead down in the street if you try to go in that bank when they tell you not to. All right? That's the real. That's where we at. Okay? I'm just telling you what time it is. Now, segue that into another situation that's going on. I know there have been a lot of questions since I've been on here about, you've heard me talk to you about the earth changes. Well, so far, the earth changes here um, are starting to pick up here in 2013. The situation is becoming very serious. I know you guys heard about the sinkhole in Florida, okay? And you heard the media pump it up and say, well, Florida's notorious for, for the ground opening up. Okay. All right, I'll grant you that. But then explain to me why we're getting these sinkholes popping up all over the planet now, especially, especially in 2013. And not just little holes where you fall down, 30 feet or 100 feet, but the situation is much graver than that. For instance, down in South America, we had a hole that opened up that was 30 meters wide and 100, 100 meters wide and 30 stories down. 30 stories down. And it just opened up just like that, just swallow. I don't know if you've seen the one with the guy on the golf course. All right. He's standing on the golf course and the ground opens up, swallows him up. I don't know if you saw that one. Well, there is a lot of things happening that they cannot explain. They have the scientists baffled. I believe I may have a possible explanation for you, but you're probably not going to like it. All right, here we go. Do you recall a few months ago where we had the situation down in Florida with the quote unquote zombies? And remember where the CDC put it on their website saying prepare for a zombie apocalypse? And then they tried to say it was a joke and then they took it down. And that's, they were saying they were just trying to capture people's attention so they could start preparing for pandemics and things like that. Okay. Well, remember, their explanation when the thing happened in Florida was bath salts. Now, granted, bath salts can make a person batty. There are many drugs that can make you lose your mind. You know, it don't have to be bath salts. However, when forensic evidence came back on numerous other cases around the globe, there was no bath salts in the toxicology reports. So we know it was not bath salts. So here is what I'm going to present to you, that this may be a possibility. If you open your mind up to it, you might understand it. There are some clues that we have that the individuals who did this were, one, out of their mind, and two, I'm going to propose to you that they were demonically possessed. There has been a rising amount of situations where they cannot explain why so and so flipped out, why so and so, who was a normal person, decided to shoot his whole family up and then shoot himself. Exhibit A. Never before in recorded scientific history, the scientific community backs me up on this. Have they seen this many giant sinkholes appearing simultaneously all over the earth? They've never seen that before. There's a passage in the
Okay.
Bible that talks about, in the book of Revelation, the ground opening up, and what comes out of the ground is unstoppable. And those are demons, and that they will torment many people on the earth in the last days. Another exhibit B would be, a few days ago, the thousands of swine that washed up on the shore over in China. If you recall, in the Gospels, when the demons came out of the man in the tombs and begged Jesus to go into the swine, what did they do? They killed themselves and committed suicide by drowning themselves in the sea.
I definitely have questions about all this. We'll be right back. We're back. I'm Demcad, and I'm co-hosting with Dex. And then please continue telling us about the sinkholes.
Okay. As far as the sinkholes, for those who did not catch it, what I was alluding to was the fact that in the Bible, in the book of Revelations, talks about the ground opening up and demons coming out of it and tormenting people, tormenting man in the last days. So I am presenting to you that that may be a plausible explanation for what is happening. Scientific community has no explanation. Yes, sinkholes do appear, but not like they've been appearing in the last 12 months all over the globe, and not in the size and the scope of these holes, especially not opening up in residential places, not just out in the country somewhere, but I'm talking right in residential places. Now, you have to ask yourself this question: what could be causing that? And I also want to also throw something at you too. Remember, the media likes to play on reality, and they like to make films and movies about things that have truth in them, but then a little entertainment mixed in there as well.
Sort of like the TV show Revolution and things like that.
Correct. But has anyone forgotten the movie 2012?
Oh,
What
I
was
haven't.
what,
It
what
started. It started. John Cusack.
right now, and what was the main thing that started happening with people? Do you remember? The ground was opening up.
Yes, and in California, it actually took up
And
at
not
this
just in
point.
California, and not just in California. It wasn't just California. It was happening all over the globe. Yes, we're having instability in the Earth's crush. Period. So that is my first thing I want to throw out to you. Now, for all those non-believers out there, I know we have a lot of people who say, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in a devil, I don't believe in demons, I don't believe in anything supernatural. Okay, fine. You go ahead and hold on to that. But then explain to me this. Explain to me the UFO phenomena, which is burgeoning and not going away, and getting more and more overt and more occurring in the last couple of years. Can you explain that? You cannot. You
Well,
can't.
I mean,
You
that's
can't
not
say swamp
necessarily.
gas. You can't say swamp gas. It's not going to fly. You can't say that. Oh, well, this is just the way that the light is reflecting off the earth. That's not going to happen because they're being seen now in broad daylight.
But that's not necessarily a supernatural thing. When people say they don't believe in the supernatural, they're
Okay.
saying things
Uh,
that exist outside the natural world. You could
What,
still have
what in the natural
UFOs.
that fast?
Oh, go ahead.
Explain to me what in the natural can move more than 10,000 miles per hour and make 90-degree diagonal turns in the air. Is there anything in nature that can explain that?
Well, it may be something that does exist in nature. We just haven't been exposed to it yet. For example, it may be something that's capable on other planets. It may be something that's capable in our universe. It's just that we haven't garnered the technology to do it. So I don't necessarily consider that to be supernatural. For example, telepathy, telekinesis, the idea that you can move things with your mind. It's definitely science fiction and supernatural for a television show and for the movies, but in reality, it may just be something that we are capable of, or we could become capable of once we evolve to a certain level. For example, human beings don't use most of their brains. Well, we only use a small part of our brain, and some of us don't even use that. Uh, but it may be so that once we get to a point where we're able to use more of our brain and actually use more of that capacity, we start to do things that was once considered to be supernatural, but in actuality was actually something that was a part of the natural world that we just didn't know about.
Okay, well, here's something I want to present to you. When we say supernatural, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about something that is pertaining to or being above or beyond what is natural or what is normal,
Mhm.
right? We're talking about something that is unexplainable by natural law or phenomenon or something that is known to the scientific community.
Or
Correct?
we consider,
That's all that means. That's just a definition of supernatural.
it depends on your definition because we're just looking at it from a different way. Just because science can't currently explain it doesn't mean it's not really natural. Like, for example, it may be that our ideas of the way that the universe works, our laws, may be simply wrong. You know?
All right, one plus one is going to be two all day long. So there are absolutes. To
Okay.
say so we have to be upfront and say there are things that we cannot explain that are beyond us. The whole idea of the whole extraterrestrial construct lends itself to something supernatural outside of our realm of understanding or knowing. Even
Okay.
the idea of other dimensions and things and parallel universes, that is supernatural. That supersedes our natural laws. You and I can't go into the top of the Empire State Building and jump off and just fly away. That's not gonna happen.
I see what you're saying,
If
but
someone does that, that would be supernatural, meaning not according to our natural laws of physics as we
but
know them to be.
oh
All right.
yeah, I see what you're saying, but I'm just saying if I were to fly an Apache helicopter in 1557, it would seem like a supernatural occurrence. But right now, if I were to fly an Apache helicopter, they'll just say this guy has a pilot license. But I just want to point that out. But please continue.
Okay. Here's the thing. Okay, we have to agree that there are things that we cannot explain. Correct. All right.
Absolutely.
So here's my thing. I have my explanation, and you can have your explanation. But there has to be some type of explanation, right? That is logical. So here's my thing. Okay, we see these manifestations now in broad daylight. Not just one person or two people, but sometimes being seen by thousands of people. Sometimes entire towns or cities, such as the UFOs that were in Brooklyn, all right, in New York, all right. That I mean, caught on camera. Look at that.
Okay.
That is not a normal occurrence in Brooklyn, all right, in New York, in the city. As a matter of fact, most UFO occurrences never happen in the urban area. They always happen out in the suburbs or in the country somewhere. Never in the hood, in the city, in the ghetto, on the block. Okay? Now we're starting to see them there too. Not to mention, we also had an individual who went on live TV and summoned UFOs for the film crew, caught live on TV. Now, to say, oh, well, oh, that was just a kite he was flying in the air. Nah, try again. The man showed you that he summoned them, which means that it's intelligences that he's summoning. It's not swamp gas or lighting. He summoned something, which means he communicated with something. He admitted that he communicated with something. Why do you think the New Age movement is so popular? Because they're talking about spirit guides and familiar spirits and things of that nature. Not to mention, don't forget, back when Anton LaVey was with us, the Church of Satan was very big, and you had all types of very intelligent people that were a part of that movement and that were a part of his church and took pictures with him and cameo flicks. Even Sammy Davis, a famous picture with him and Anton LaVey. What did they believe? They believed in Satan. All right. They worshiped Satan. They practiced witchcraft, intelligent people, movie stars, Fortune 500 people. That means that they know something that the average person has been brainwashed to not even consider. Not to mention, the UN has had a resident witch dating back to the 1960s on staff, on payroll. Why is that? If it's all a bunch of foolishness, then why is this person on payroll? At the UN, why does the presidents seek out astrologers and soothsayers, if you will, if it's all a bunch of nothing? I present to you that it is more than nothing. It is definitely something. And this is what's up. I am letting you know that as time is getting closer, as things are more happening, we're going to start seeing more phenomenon like this. We're going to start seeing more daytime UFO stuff like that, and even more so than that, because our nation as a whole has, this is something that we've embraced. This is doorways to the elder realm that our country as a nation has opened up. That's why in the entertainment world, they offer sacrifices. They do it.
What type
Even
of sacrifices?
where they kill people, they offer
Are you referring to
sacrifices.
Michael Jackson? There's
I'm
theories
referring, I'm
about that.
referring not just Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, you name it, going all the way down the list. What more? See, here's my thing. We talk about on this show. This is alternative media. We talk about things that the media don't want to discuss and deal with. We talk about the new world order. We talk about being awake to certain things, certain ideas and concepts. I'm presenting to you guys another side of being awake, and that's being awake to know that you live in a supernatural universe, a supernatural world where things that do happen that you do not understand or can explain, and that other people who we call the New World Order are way ahead of you because they don't only believe it, they embrace it and they practice it and they communicate with it. How many interviews do we have to see where people are interviewing powerful people and they tell you, oh, by the way, yeah, I sold my soul to the devil. That's how I got famous. Or yeah, I went ahead and I conjured up the spirit of Jackie Onassis, and she told me how I should be the first lady in the White House. How many times we got to hear stuff like that? And these people they're not laughing when they tell you. They tell you the truth. This is how we get down. It's what we do. This is what we believe. And we say that to each his own, whatever. But when people talk about things like that, it just blows them away and it frightens them. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. Just like talking to people about the New World Order and the Federal Reserve. They don't want to believe that it's evil.
Yeah, well, see, I think the issue here is, I think you're referring to the paranormal, but you're using the word supernatural. That's what really threw me off. But it's just, we have different definitions. So essentially, you're saying there's a part of the universe that we're not really opening our eyes to, but the powers that be are very much aware of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. When I'm saying both. I'm saying paranormal and I'm saying supernatural. So both.
We'll be right back, guys.
Welcome to the Wide Awake Show, here with Demcad and Dex, a.k.a. the Vulcan, and Charlie McGrath's absence. Actually, we have him tied up in the basement. We just didn't want to tell you that in the first hour. We've taken over the show. It's been hijacked.
That's why I was late for half an hour. I was in the basement dealing with him. So
we're doing it live. We're doing it live.
We're kidding, of course. We're kidding. Yeah, but Dex was actually telling us earlier. He did a wrap up on what's going to go on with the market, and essentially, from what I understand, you're saying that based on the information that you're acquiring, there's going to be a major market crash, a stock market crash, a financial crisis soon. I don't know how soon, but and that's what we can expect, along with a lot of other stuff.
Correct. Basically, in the last hour, I read to you an article that was posted today saying that the New York Stock Exchange has decided to scrap their special circuit breaker thing that they were working on with limit up, limit down moves, and now have decided just to pretty much leave it wide open, so we can have another 2010 anytime, and this time there will be nothing to stop it. And that's the sad part. That lets me know that they are planning for something.
And if you weren't prepared, it's going to be very difficult for you to start preparing now. We have a caller coming on, audio from Maryland, with a question about silver.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hello.
Yes, yes, Deck. Am I talking to Deck?
You're on air. You're on air.
You're live on the air with Demcad and the Vulcan, aka Dex. What say ye?
Oh, right. Right. Well, I was looking at the long-term chart for gold and silver, and I noticed that, remember when silver went down to $10 back in '09, I think it was, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at the long-term charts, and it looked like it could come down to 15. And I was wondering what your very knowledgeable expertise would have to say about that possibility in the long-term chart.
That's a very good question. I did address that in the first hour, that I believe that $15 is a very immediate target if we drop below this $26 handle. And as we speak right now, we're at 26.80 and falling. We just bounced off of 26.76. So yeah, $15 is in the cards if we take out that 26 handle. We need to close below it though. Just touching it and bouncing doesn't count. We got to close below it. We close below it,
Right.
then that's done. It's a done deal. Silver is going to continue the collapse, which will be odd because here's my thing. The stock market, if it rolls out of bed, if we fall down from here, and I don't mean correct, I mean just collapse and turn straight up bearish. The precious
20%?
metals, yeah, 20% drop. That would, we don't even need that at this point. All we need to do is drop below December's low, and that's it. Game over. Seriously, it'd be game over. We'd be right back in bear territory again. Here's my thing, though. Historically, when the stock market was doing bad, people would put their money in bonds. All right, that is no longer a escape route because the Fed has been operating in the bond market and keeping interest rates artificially low. So where do you go? You got to put your money somewhere, right? Well, those who know would always buy precious metals, gold and silver, maintain your purchasing power, right? Well, how are you going to do that with the price of gold and silver continuing to drop? And if silver goes back down to $15, I mean, yeah, it's still better than paper dollars, but you see where I'm going with this? It's almost as if there is a entity or force that is taking away your hedge so that they want you to fall out of love with the gold and the silver so that you just say, forget it and throw your hands up. I'm saying to hold on to what you have. And if you can't afford to stack it as the prices get cheaper, so what? You want to hold on. Do not relinquish the gold and the silver if you can do it. Now, if you had a choice between doing that and starving to death, by all means, I say go ahead and get that sandwich. But if you can, I would hold on to that gold and silver. I don't care how low it goes. At the end of the day, when this curtain is rolled back and this collapse happens, it's not going to last that long. Many people are not talking about that, so I'll address it while you're on the line with me. Gold and the silver, we're in a bear market. We're going to continue to fall. I'm nervous that we could really, really see one of those big moves in gold like we did a few years ago when it dropped $100 in a day. I think that we're approaching that right now. So that's going to be frightening for a lot of people. But if you're, one of those people who you like to stack your precious metals, then it really won't matter to you where we go. But if you're a trader like me and you're trading in and out of these currencies and these metals, I would say to you, you want to keep shorting. You want to short if you want to, pick up money that way. I have not been shorting the precious metals because I've been looking for a long opportunity, hoping that because of what's been happening over in Cypress and what's happening with the banking situation, that it would just take off and take me with it. But that's not happening. So now I have to switch my focus and think, you know what? I think it's time to start shorting the gold. That's just me. So,
well, okay. I have another question.
Go for it.
That would be in the case of actual holding on to silver, for instance. they call it junk silver, like pre-64 silver versus the Eagles, the silver Eagles. What do you recommend?
To be quite honest with you, I am not an expert on coins and collectibles. I could not tell you the difference between the two. I'm a trader. I trade the paper markets. Demcad, I'm sure you can probably answer that question.
Well, I'm not really big into silver. I will say this: I would focus on the precious metals themselves, the actual coins, the American Eagles, not so much on collectible stuff, because the collectible coins, they have a value that has nothing to do with the actual silver itself. So that's something you have to understand, that you know it's rarity. That's what often gives that coin a certain amount of value. So you do have to understand that, and you also have to understand that maybe certain people might not understand which silver, which junk silver is true silver and what is not. Now these are some other complications. Another thing you got to think about with silver is if there is a crisis, how are you going to be able to liquefy it? How are you going to be able to sell it? Who's going to be willing to buy it? What type of stores are going to be around to actually buy it? How are you going to be able to get it liquid if you can't just sell it online or whatever? So these are some things you might want to consider.
I have another question. That
Go
is
for
the major currencies, such as the U.S. dollar, the GB, Great British Pound, and the Swiss franc and the euro, which actually the Swiss franc and the euro very, very closely track each other, although there is some differentiation there. And also the Aussie. I was wondering if you could give me some long-term projections, and of course the JY, Japanese yen.
Well, as you know, the yen has always been. All right. Well, the basket of currency you just gave me, half of them track each other, half go the opposite way. The Aussie, the pound, the euro, they move together. The CAD, the Swiss franc, and the Aussie normally will move together. So yeah, that's just how that is. As far as long-term projections, unfortunately, it's all going to hinge on Europe. The ones that will get hit the hardest is the euro currency itself and the British pound. Totally fall out of bed and implode.
Why?
The fear right now is because over there in the sterling is highly leveraged and connected to Cypress in some way. That's what I heard. That's what I'm being told. So the pound is in trouble.
Swiss franc, though, what is that going to deleverage from the euro? Right now, it's tracking very close to the euro. I was wondering about the Swiss franc.
Yeah, when it comes to the Swiss franc, that's an odd one. The way the Swiss do things is totally different than everyone else. So I wouldn't know what to tell you on the Swiss franc.
Well, we'll be right back here at Wide Awake Radio with me, Demcad, and Dex.
Welcome back to Wide Awake News. In Charlie McGrath's absence, it's the Vulcan Dex here with Demcad. And for those of you who don't know, Charlie's not with us today. He's tied up in the basement, and we've taken over the show. One thing we talked about here during the break was the nuclear situation realities with North Korea and how much of a threat are they really. I'm going to propose to you that they are more than a threat than what people are letting on. This is the same audacity that we had back in the 80s and the same audacity we had in September of 2011. Tell you what I mean by that. Back in the 1980s when Pan Am was getting hijacked every Thursday and the planes were crashing and falling out the sky every Friday, our U.S. government was warned that the similar thing was going to happen here. And they said that the airports and the airlines need to get together, figure something out, get these special scanners and stuff put here, installed in the U.S. And this is back in the late 80s. Well, guess what? They laughed. They laughed and said, that is utter foolishness. Something like that will never, ever happen here. We've never been attacked on American soil, and it's not going to ever happen. And guess what? It happened. 9/11 happened. Now, whether you believe it's an inside job or not is of no relevance here. My point is, did not the buildings come down? We can all agree the buildings came down. All right? The official report is that hijackers hijacked planes, ran them into the building fell down. Okay, the same thing that we were warned about in the 80s to prevent, we laughed at and said it can never happen. As a matter of fact, just 2 weeks prior to 9/11, I was having a conversation with the vice president of the firm I was at the time, back in my Wall Street days, and we were having the same conversation as far as, war being fought here on American soil and things like that, terrorism. And he laughed me out of the room. Said I didn't know what I was talking about. I was crazy. Something like that will never happen here. We're the best military in the world. We have the Star Wars program. We can shoot anything out of the sky. Blah, blah, blah. And then 9/11 happens. And you know what I said to him on 9/11? I said, remember what we were talking about? How do you explain this? You know what he did? He ran off to his office and slammed the door. That was his response. So I'm saying to you again that our head is in the sand. We've been led to believe that America is indestructible, that nothing bad can ever happen here, and that we're just so powerful that no other nation would dare do anything to us because we would just destroy them and wipe them off the face of the earth. Well, I'm going to present to you Exhibit A. Do you remember the story of one of my favorite childhood stories, as a matter of fact, Homer's Odyssey? Remember the scene with Odysseus and Polymenphus, the one-eyed Cyclops? Well, remember how Odysseus tricked the Cyclops, and how he did it was he told him that his name was Nobody. And then he proposed a plan to put out his one eye and blinded the giant. And when Poseidon, which is Polymenphus' daddy, said, "Who did this to you?" He said, "Nobody did this to me. Nobody did this to me." So the moral of the story is, if you don't know who hit you, you don't know who to attack. So therefore, I propose that it is very highly likely and possible that North Korea could drive a submarine over here, launch a nuke from the East Coast waters, take out New York or D.C. or both, and we don't even know who did it. Everyone said, "Oh, I know North Korea did it. Prove it." Okay, Russia did it. Prove it. China did it. Prove it. How you going to prove it? You don't know who did it. So guess what? You can't attack nobody. Or you're going to go around attacking everybody and blow the whole planet up. You see my point?
Well, I mean, the United States government isn't really known for coming up with good reasons for attacking people. I mean, if they decide North Korea is responsible, I don't think they really need much evidence at all. I mean, look at what happened with Iraq. So weapons of mass destruction. Iraq they're working with Al Qaeda. The United States government is known to put out a lot of false information, and they even ignore other parts of the government. Even when the CIA says, "You know what, this information is false," we've still found ourselves fighting wars, unnecessary wars, based off of false information. So if North Korea was to attack us, likely, even if we didn't have the evidence, the United States government would probably attack them. Not to say that the United States is invincible, because it's far from it. I actually think that an EMP would be far more effective than using any nuclear weapon on any particular city. Wiping out a big part of the grid would probably cause a lot more devastation than a simple nuclear bomb anywhere. But this is my little observation.
Well, we'll be right back, and we'll pick up the conversation we left off at.
Welcome back to Wide Awake Radio with me, Demcad, and Dex. Yeah, earlier you were talking about the zombie situation and how the media was spinning those zombie attack stories in Florida, and you're also tying it into holes in the earth and demons. I mean, you gotta bring this all together.
Okay. what I'm proposing to wrap that all up is that the Bible talks about in the last days that pretty much men would lose their minds and go out of their minds. And one of the reasons for that would be because of the abyss opening up and the demons coming out of it, and also because woe unto the earth, because Satan, our enemy, the enemy of mankind, has been cast down into it. So the angelic host, the fallen ones, are here with us. Satan is not in hell, he's here, and he is alive and well on the earth. Him and all of his fallen demons, absolutely. So what I was saying was that one of the plausible explanations for what's been happening is because of that event. And those holes opening up in the ground are symbolic of something of that nature. Also, the swine, the herd of swine in recent days being found washed up in the shore in China. Again, just like the demoniac in the Gospels, when the demon, the legion came out of him, they ran into the swine. The swine committed suicide and cast themselves down into the waters. So similar things have happened, is what I was alluding to. And again, these things are burgeoning and not going away. They're not going to stop. They're just going to become more prevalent as the days go on. And like I was saying too, the Earth's crust is also becoming more fragile because of all the fracking. That's why we've been having all these earthquakes in diverse places, places that we normally do not have an earthquake. We had an earthquake here in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area. We do not get earthquakes here, but yet we had one. Okay? So what I'm explaining is that as time goes on, it's going to be more and more. You're going to see volcanoes going off together at the same time. You're going to see chains of earthquakes start to happen. All these things are signs that we're getting closer to the end. Not to mention all the asteroids that we've been getting hit with. How many times in human history, recorded history, have we had this happen? Now, all of a sudden, here we are getting hit with meteors without warning. And they're exploding right now in our atmosphere.
See, I see a little bit of different. I see it differently. What's going on? Well, for one thing, we have massive unemployment. We have highest poverty levels in the United States since the 1960s. 50 million, about 58 million people collecting food stamps. We have excessive spending. We have a lot more spending on social programs because a lot of people can't find jobs. We have a moral decay in this country where people, you have fathers not raising their kids. You have families being broken up because people don't want to take responsibility for the kids that they're creating. We have a social decline. We have a moral decline. And we have an economic and a political crisis in this country, financial crisis in this country. I think, yes, we're looking at a collapse of a civilization, but with the collapse of a civilization, with this crisis, I also think we're facing an opportunity to go into one or two directions. So we have, well, many directions. We have an opportunity as this old system is failing, as the dollar system is failing, as a world reserve currency, as that system fails, we have an opportunity is to actually build something else. Now, we could end up with something much worse, a fascist society. We could end up with something potentially better. As the old system breaks down, it's going to be a lot of suffering, and it could be pretty horrible for a lot of people, but I don't really see us moving towards the end. I just see us moving towards more of a transition. So in a way, it's sort of exciting. And I mean, obviously a lot of bad things are happening, but it's exciting to know that there's actual potential for us to actually use this as an opportunity to create something better. I don't know how you really see what this is all going, this whole economic, political crisis. Where is it actually going? Do you see it as a transition, or is it moving towards something a little bit more absolute?
I see it as a transition into something more absolute, and that's a state of chaos. What's going to happen is the world economies are going to collapse eventually. They're going to collapse. It's in the cards. It's what's going to happen. When that happens, then we will have the one world digital currency. They already have the patents and the technology out right now. Even in public school, they're already running some of these programs where you just scan your hand in order to move around and do what the things you need to do. They're going to microchip everybody. Eventually, that is the way it's going. Now, in the
But
beginning, it's going to be voluntary, but as things get worse, it's going to be forced on everyone. And you will not be able to get a job. You won't be able to collect your benefits. You won't be able to go to the store and buy nothing unless you are on this system. Everyone will have to be a part of the system. It is the only way that they can control everything. Their answer to the anarchy that is coming. Anarchy is coming to America. Anarchy will be global. And the only way to rein it all in is with tyranny. Total, complete control. That is the new system that's coming out on the other side of this one after this one passes away. This system you will not want. It is going to be tyranny on a level and on a scale you cannot believe. They have technology out right now that totally controls everything you do. The drones are just the eyes in the sky, so they can see where you go. But then the chip will be able for them to know what you are doing where you go. So again, the drones can see where you go and where you're at. The chip will let them know what you're doing where you're at. And
I mean,
that's how they're going to do it.
there's got to be a lot of resistance to something like that. And do
Now,
you
when you can't eat, who's going to resist? You're starving. You can't go anywhere. What are you going to do? There's no food in the store. The ATMs are shut off. The only place to get food is at the FEMA camp. The only way to get the food at the FEMA camp is when you come in and form a line, you have to take this chip so they can know who's who and who's with us, who's not, who's against us. Oh, yeah, you're going to take the chip or starve to death. There's only two choices you're going to have. What I'm talking about is an anarchy situation that brings out the chip. Yeah,
Wow.
forced chipping.
I mean, but you don't really see an opportunity to create something different. You don't see any option, any bright spot in any of this. Any way.
No, I don't, and I'll tell you why. Because madmen have taken over the planet. That's see, good people like yourself, Demcad. You would like to have, just to do your own thing, be left alone, live life, which is great. But they're not going to allow you to do that. They're not going to allow you to do it. As long as men are on the earth, somebody's going to want to rule. And usually the one that gets to rule is the one who is the most brutal. Look at the system we're in now. Is it really any different than what I'm explaining to you already? Think about it. If you choose not to pay your taxes, they threaten you with violence. If you speak out too much against this government, they threaten you with violence. If anytime you resist this government, you get met with violence. If you try to have a cow and milk it and then give that milk to your neighbors, they will meet you with violence. Okay? If you take pictures of the Washington Monument, they will meet you with violence. If you show up on the doorstep of the Federal Reserve, they will meet you with violence. So how is what I'm describing that's on the other side of this system any different than what we already are living with and has already become accustomed to?
So if this is the case, what can we do?
Nothing. The time to do something was a long time ago, and that time has passed.
So there's nothing that we can individually do to prepare and try to fight this, or
No, there's no fight. They have what, 3 billion bullets? How you gonna fight that?
with more bullets?
Great.
With more bullets? It beats doing nothing. We'll be right back, guys. Wide Awake Radio with Demcad and Dex, or Dex and Demcad. We're back, Wide Awake Radio. I'm Demcad and I'm with Dex, also known as a Vulcan. I'm looking at his photo right there. It just made me laugh right here. So let's talk about exactly in how things are going to happen. For example, there's going to be a market collapse. Then there's going to be an economic collapse. But there's going to be other events happening while that's happening. It's all going to be happening at the same time. For example, the Earth changes and other stuff.
I see it all happening together and succinctly, back to back to back, like dominoes. one thing after another. Eventually, all right, here's the thing. I know it's hard to take and deal with, but if you do a little research, you'll see what I'm talking about. It'll open up to you. The USA, right, has been showing all the signs of collapse from the inside out, not just economically, but spiritually, socially, physically. All right, let's just start with the physical. Look at our crumbling infrastructure all over from coast to coast. There's no debate that we have crumbling infrastructure, correct? Okay.
Absolutely. They don't even fix bridges around here in Flint. They pretty much paint over them.
Exactly. Same here. So look, potholes. I'm driving over the same potholes every day. So look, here's the thing. Physically, we're collapsing, right? Okay, check. Spiritually, we're collapsing. They claim that this was a quote unquote Christian nation, but now we are a godless nation. We've done everything in our power to get God and God we trust out of everywhere, prayer out of schools, the whole nine. Okay, so check. So physically crumbling, spiritually crumbling. All right, economically, we are crumbling. The job situation is not getting better. Okay, it's getting worse, and it will continue to get a lot worse as time goes on. So again, we're crumbling physically, we're crumbling spiritually, now we're crumbling financially. How else are we crumbling? We're crumbling socially. Look at the breakdown of the family. All right. Everywhere you turn, we're getting broken families, families that are just falling apart. All right. They're just bugging. All right. So again, physically, economically, socially, spiritually, and we're also collapsing internationally. Our foreign relations have never been worse. All right. We are like the most hated nation on the planet. People put up with us because they have to, because they fear us, because they fear our military might. But just like Rome fell, we have all the same earmarks that Rome had when Rome fell. We're going down that same identical path. Check
Excessive
by check.
expansion.
Check by
Excessive
check.
expansion.
Yes, point by
Unnecessary
checkpoint.
wars. Spending
Yeah,
more money than is actually bringing in. Messing
exactly.
around with the currency.
Yes,
Devaluing the currency.
yes. And entertainment blossoming. Now we have reality shows on every channel. Um, they're keeping us sedated with entertainment. And also, they've dumbed us down to such a point where schools have become prisons and nothing more than facilities of propaganda. It's so bad that people are afraid that if their child goes to school, they may get shot to death. So that's what they fear in school. In college, what's the problem? Unless you agree with your professor, you can't graduate. So independent thought and intellectual thought is shunned, even in our universities. That's whack.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one
That
thing that
is
jumped
whack.
out. Yeah, that's one thing that really jumped out of my head. It's not really a scholarly institution anymore.
Yep.
It's just brainwashing.
Yep.
Everybody just nod their head. Yeah, 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 yeah. They celebrate diversity, but what they mean by diversity, people who look different from them but think exactly like them. You know.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. We argue that we were a Christian nation, right? And that the nation was founded on biblical principles and things like that, right? I'm gonna give you two sides of that real quick. On one side, you have truth to it because the founding fathers were deists. Okay, they believed in a higher power. All right, they weren't necessarily Christians, but they believed in a higher power. Okay, but on the flip side of that, our country, our nation, was actually started on a conspiracy. So conspiracy is part of our heritage. It was done on a conspiracy. Our founding fathers conspired to break away from England, and that's what they did. Okay, it was a conspiracy, and there's no way to break it down other than that. So we're collapsing on all levels, And now, for those that say it was a Christian nation, Christian principles, blah, 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 well, isn't it ironic that now we've turned the tide and turned the corner where now our nation as a whole hates Christ and everything to do with it? Christianity is being blamed for all ills in the earth. There's nothing more hated than a Jew and a Christian in our today's globe. And I think part of that is because of our foreign policy, our foreign relations, and because Islam is a very fast growing religion, if not the fastest growing religion on the planet today. So you add all that up, where does that get us? The death of a nation, period. The America as you and I even once knew it is gone. The America that our parents knew has been gone. The America that our forefathers knew, way gone. Never coming back. So when you say, is there hope? No, there's no hope. It's done. Our country is going to collapse. What will come up after it, I have no idea. Perhaps we'll just turn inwardly and leave the whole foreign policy thing alone and abandon all of our military bases and bring our troops home. Maybe that's what will happen, because they'll need to do that because we can't afford to keep them abroad anymore. Maybe they'll be stranded. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think there's going to be a collapse and a opportunity to build a new system, and we're be dealing with a lot of choices. But your take on it is just it's pretty devastating. Yeah, I don't know what you want people to do, because what I tell people to do is to prepare for emergencies, to prepare for a shock to the system, prepare to respond to whatever event that the government is obviously preparing for by buying up all these damn bullets and getting tanks and working on these underground facilities and all these other things that the government is doing. I tell people to prepare, but from your perspective, it sounds like that won't even help you.
Well, what I'm saying to you is no, it's going to help you to a certain point. There's no amount of preparation that you can do. Eventually, the food is going to run out, and so is your water, and you might even have to get up and leave all of your resources because where you're at may become uninhabitable for whatever reason. So the bottom line is there is no escape from this new system that's coming, and there's no escape from the collapse. I don't care what country you run to. All countries are going to be under this global government. I'm telling you, it's how it is. They've already been planning for it. That's why your government has 3 billion bullets, and they're still adding more. That's why they have the underground seed vaults. It's not for you and I. That's why they're doing the things they're doing. They're preparing for this transition, and it's only going to get worse, and they're not going to warn anybody. They're not going to tell you when certain things are going to come. You just got to have discernment and know for yourself what time it is. Well, you know what I'm saying? The handwriting will be on the wall, and they always hint off before they do things to their buddies. And you know, we're lucky in the underground media. They tell us things, but
okay, I have an important question. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to know this, or they want to ask this. What are some things we should look for? What signs will let us know that this economic escalation, this economic collapse is going to escalate? A market collapse, or what are some signs we should look for in terms of earth changes and all this stuff? What things should we look for?
All right, rule number 1. Anyone that you know in your area where you live that is an elitist on any level, if you look for them today and you see out of the blue they're going on vacation or packing up and leaving, you need to do the same, because they've been tipped off something is about to go down. I'm sure that everyone under the sound of my voice has someone that knows someone that has someone that works in government in some kind of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're told things too. Even the police officers. Everyone's on call tonight. You know what I'm saying? Little things like that. If you see certain people pack up and go, you probably need to do the same thing. When you start hearing them talk about that banking crisis coming here in any capacity whatsoever, if you see it even mentioned on the mainstream media and then you see them talk it down, take your money out of the bank immediately. You got 24 hours to do so. Another thing, if I'm supposed to come on the show and I don't show up on the show, chances are I'm gone. There are little things like that you can look at to know what time it is. We're not there yet. All right, we're not in a row situation. We're not at DEF CON, um, you know, you know, one yet. All right, we're not at DEF CON one yet. But when we get to DEF CON 2, that's when you should already be pretty much making your plans, your preparations, your exits, whatever. But I'm here to say no matter what you do, it's not going to help you in the long run anyway, because eventually all nations will be assimilated. It's going to be one ruling body, whether that be UN vehicles rolling down your street or they have some other insignia on them. Eventually, it's going to come down to that. And the technology they have will blow your mind. It's going to be easier than you think for them to roll this whole thing up. It is not difficult. Why do you think Obama passed a law saying that they can, disappear you without reason, without cause, without an attorney, without a judge, without a jury, without a trial, without even charges? That's unheard of.
I'm not laughing because when it gets tense, I know what might happen. World's cold, the bold man.
All right. I'm glad I was here, and I hope to do this again, hopefully soon. I'm Demcad. Thank you, Dex.
Hey, thanks for everyone. Thanks for having us both, and we'll let Charlie out of the closet now in the basement.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.